Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is Round Our Way. My name is Jim. We've got two special guests today. Usually it's just one, but today we've got two. We've got Scotty. How are you doing?
I'm buzzing, man. Yeah, it's looking promising for a change.
It is. There's some good things happening. And we've got Webby as well. Very good to have you on.
Good afternoon, lads. Yeah, pleasure to be back.
Good.
Pleasure to be back.
Pleasure to have you back. Get your thoughts in the comments. We're going to be going through this Onana stuff. It's heating up. United have also announced Mason Mount today, so we'll have a little look at that. The number 7 shirt getting dished out as well. There were some rumours. I mean, I say rumours. It looked like Garnacho was hinting at it pretty heavily, didn't it? But obviously, you know, there's no bigger hint than you putting on the Mount 7 shirt on Man United's official Twitter. So I don't think we're going to argue who's the number 7 next season. We'll get into all of that. We'll also have a little look what's going on round their way with a bit of Arsenal. They're kicking off. They're picking up who they want, aren't they? So we'll go and have a look at that as well. But let's start with Mason Mount then, because that was the story this afternoon. First of all, I think we spoke about it a little bit, but now he's signed. We know the fee, 55 million plus an optional or, you know, potential 5 further million. Scotty, what do you make of that?
Financially or just
both, all in? What do you make of that?
I mean, financially, I don't got a say in how much United spend on players, but I think it's a brilliant buy. I think a lot of fans are underwhelmed based on his performance last season in what was probably the worst Chelsea team to play in the Premier League post, you know, Jose Mourinho's meltdown. Well, you know, it was really, really bad. The 2 seasons prior to that, he was player of the season for Chelsea. What he's won at the club is ridiculous, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I really think we're signing one of England's best players, really. You know, in the Premier League, and he's got a potential and a ceiling where he can go on and, you know, improve at Manchester United. If you speak to any Chelsea fan that's worth any salt, they're gutted that he's left. This is the equivalent, I think, of Marcus Rashford going to Manchester United for Chelsea fans.
I've seen the picture of him this morning. Obviously, it looks weird seeing Mason Mount in a United shirt because usually, if an academy player leaves a big club, it's because they didn't make it, not because another big club signs him. It is odd seeing Mount at United, isn't it? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think he's, like Dave said, I think he's a great player. You know, if one player was standing out last year in that poor Chelsea team, it was him. You know, he's a regular for England. He was in the last tournament. I just think it's a great signing. Obviously, we didn't want to pay that amount of money with a year left of his contract, but like you say, his best years are in front of him, and hopefully they're with us. Yeah. You know, he seems hungry. That's what we needed: young, keen, hungry players. Not just about the money. Yeah. The money's nice, don't get me wrong, but players who want to develop themselves, want to win stuff. You know, want to play for Man United, because for the last few years we've not had that. We've had a lot of mercenaries coming over for money. Yeah. You know, if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. No, I'm very happy with the signing, but it's got to be the first of at least 2 or 3 if we're going to down it in the top table of the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we'll get onto some of what might be the number 2, number 3 signings in a minute. But just, you know, get your thoughts in the comments as well on Mount. It's weird to me that, I mean, I suppose it says what you were mentioning there about Chelsea fans being a bit annoyed. The fact that they're pretty much everyone's saying that they're going to boo him, that he's not going to get a good reception, suggests that Chelsea fans didn't want this to happen. Because if they did, you know, you can applaud it. Yeah. Oh yeah, you know, when Tom Cleverley comes back to United, he don't get booed because he wasn't quite good enough. He had to go, that kind of thing. But if like you said, if Rashford went, or if, you know, when Rooney tried to leave in, what was it, 2010, if he'd have gone to Chelsea then, he wouldn't have got a good reception because we didn't want him to go. So it suggests that people Chelsea don't like the fact that Mount's leaving. Just on the number 7 thing, does that bother you? Like, it's a big deal for some United fans more than others. Some people care about who wears the number 7. Some people, it's just another number. But there was some hints that Garnacho might be wearing it. There was like bits on his Instagram of like 7 reasons why Garnacho is this, and that was on United's Instagram, and everyone was like, oh, they're hinting at giving him the number 7. Maybe they were, but Mason Mount is now the number 7. Does that bother you? Does he seem like a number 7? Do you buy into that?
I don't really buy into numbers because I'm not 7 years old, and I appreciate like some fans make
some people really care.
Yeah, no, I know, and each to their own, and I know some players are quite superstitious about what number they play. So maybe Mount, when he signed the contract, he may have stated that he wanted the number 7 at Manchester United shirt. I'm not too sure, but for me, it just feels like unnecessary pressures from fans or on social media or from the club if they've put it upon him, because it's a nonsense, really. I'm pretty sure you all agree. We've had more worse number 7s than we had. That Michael Owen, Di Maria, Memphis, Sanchez.
Memphis.
You know, so I mean, I'll keep Tony V out of the conversation because I thought he was decent.
And he didn't want the number.
And he didn't want. Yeah. But I've had enough of it.
Some of them obviously turned out to be bad, but you can see why we gave it to most of them. Like, you know, Sanchez, he was awful. It was one of the worst signings we've had, but he was a good player for Arsenal. He's a tricky winger. It kind of makes sense to give him the 7. Like, some people, it made sense. Why did we give it to Michael Owen? Like a sort of kind of washed up.
That sullied it somewhat.
It was a weird one. That like I can understand all the rest. And Memphis is another example where it didn't work out. It wasn't good enough for to kind of hold that mantle that we imagine the number 7s to be. But I can see why we did it. He was a young, exciting winger. It could have been the perfect number 7. Michael Owen was never like that kind of player, was it? That was
the only number. What was 3? You never know.
Yeah.
No, but I understand what you're saying about. Can some players handle the pressure that number 7 United? For me, it's just a number, just a shirt. I'm surprised they never doubled the number. Then they'd have to pay more money at the mega store for the double number. Because everyone's going to go and get Mount, aren't they? You know, these young kids, Dad, I want Mount. But no, he's got the number 7. I think he can handle it.
Yeah.
You know, like saying some players are froze with that shirt at United. But a number for me is nothing. It can be number 777 for me. Yeah. As long as he gives 100% every match day, I'll be well happy.
I think the thing with the 7 is, and you've sort of mentioned it there, it's not that I care about really the hit. I mean, obviously, there's been great number 7s who I love for United, but whoever gets the number 7, I don't really mind. The only thing is the pressure of it, because we might not say this, but there will be fans on Twitter, there will be in the newspapers, there will be on TV.
The pressure, I mean, if he has a couple of bad games, though, the pressure, he can't handle it, he can't handle United. He thought Chelsea was on par.
Too big for him, all that.
They'll hammer him if he has a few bad games, but that's a part and parcel of playing for United.
Yeah. Do you think that he's got that about him to... I think the fee is just low enough where he's not going to get constant abuse for the fee. 55 plus 5 is a lot of money, but it's not like, can you believe Mason Mount cost 90 million or whatever? 55, I don't think...
That's decent rate for that midfielder of that calibre.
But the number 7 is one where you see them all the time where it's like lists of United number 7s, United 7s then, and it's Beckham, Robson, Ronaldo, United 7s now, and it's, you know, Owen and and if you put Mount on there, it's like a way to slag him off. Do you think he can handle that potential pressure?
I think so, and I think any media that uses the number 7 as sort of and his stick to beat him if he's had a bad game, I just think it's really bad journalism. I think it's going to be judged not on the number 7 shirt, it's on the badge on the front of it and whether he could make the step up. And I'm sorry, Chelsea fans, Manchester United is a Goliath in comparison as a football club, so it's a hell of a lot of pressure putting the red shirt on, never mind the number on the back of it.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a couple of quotes from him. I think Jay went through a couple of them before, but we'll just say it again because it's a new signing, isn't it? So it's nice to revel in it.
Yes, let's just milk it for all we can.
Let's just milk it. He said, "It's never easy leaving the club where you grew up, but Man United will provide an exciting new challenge for the next phase of my career. Having competed against them, I know just how strong a squad it is that I'm joining, and I can't wait to be part of this group's drive to win major trophies. Everyone can see the club has made big steps forward under Erik ten Hag. Having met with the manager and discussed his plans, I couldn't be more excited for the seasons ahead, and I'm ready to work hard, and I'm ready for the hard work expected here. I'm hugely ambitious. I know how it feels to win major trophies and what it takes to do it. I'll be giving everything to experience that again at Manchester United." I think he seems like an intelligent lad. He seems like someone who speaks well, and I don't know what he got in his GCSEs, but I mean, he talks like someone. He says the right things, and he seems to have an intelligence about him. I think that's a good sign. And I was talking to Steve the other day about, Ten Hag mentioned it when we signed Varane and Casemiro. Obviously, they're light years ahead in terms of what they've won, but the fact that they'd won big trophies, Mason Mount, it's only won Champions League and he's not won much else, but that's still a big thing to have in it, that someone who's got experience in the most high pressure moments, winning big trophies. Having more players in the squad that have done that, it's just a good thing, really, isn't it?
Certainly, when you look what we've got at the moment, it's an improvement, on what's already in the midfield at Manchester United, aside from the likes of Casemiro and Bruno. One thing that's brilliant about this is, especially over the last sort of 10 years, when's the last time that Manchester United actually bought the rival's best player? Because when United were at their peak, that's and then this is what City are doing now. City are going around Europe or the Premier League and picking up the best players to sort of weaken their rivals. And I don't care. I think Mason Mount is probably the best player at Chelsea. At Manchester United, I've just gone.
He's certainly in that conversation, isn't he? Like you said, he won their Player of the Year 2020-21 and 21-22. Only last year is the one that he hasn't won in the last 3 years.
So when's the last time United have gone to any rival in the Premier League and gone, right, well, we'll have you? Yeah. It's not happened, so that's a really positive thing.
Has it happened since Van Persie?
Probably not. I always remember the Dwight York one when the Villa manager.
John Gregory said I'm going to shoot him or something.
You'd have to shoot him and get him 2 days later. He's on Old Trafford pitch. So that's what we used to do. We used to go and bully clubs.
Yeah.
We want him. He's coming to us. End of story.
Yeah.
There's a thing with this though, and I think this is why Chelsea fans might boo him when he goes back to Stamford Bridge. I fully expect him to. He had a year left in his contract, but this has been a long time coming. And for all beliefs, Chelsea did want to keep him, but he wouldn't sign a new contract with him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think that might rub up Chelsea fans the wrong way. Which says, the ambition of the guy that is going to walk away from somewhere that he's been all his life. 18 years, hasn't he been? He's been at Chelsea.
He's been there since
if you look at Chelsea, they're the players they've brought in.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those players who's, I know you're not blind but start every match, but you're bringing 4 and 5 players in, you're thinking, hang on a minute, I want to play football.
Yeah. Especially if you've just gone player of the season 2 years on the bounce, and then you get Todd Bowler with his cheerleader and hot dogs and stuff, you know what I mean? And then starts wrecking the club that that you've grew up in.
And like you said, they've bought in like 5 players in that position. I know Felix has gone now, but they bought in Fernandes, they bought in Nkunku, they bought in Felix, they bought in other players as well, like midfield, just like attacking midfielders. Yeah. So, like you said, you could be Mason Mount. You could have won Player of the Year 2 of the last 3 years, but you might not even start next season. So, it's probably a good time for him to move. And speaking of time for him to move, let's us move on to Andre Onana, shall we? Because this is United's seemingly next transfer on the list. We've seen rumours yesterday of a first bid. We've seen them sort of confirmed by some of the more reputable journalists. I think Romano and Laurie Whitwell both saying, and Sky was saying as well, weren't they, that United have made an opening offer worth 45 million euros for Andre Onana. I think it's 40 million euros up front with a further 5. And there's 2 sort of separate things here. So one is the bid has been rejected because they want closer to 60, but then we saw Romano say that Inter expect Man United to bid again, and that negotiations will continue this week after those initial bid was reported not to convince Inter. But Laurie Whitwell also said there is an expectation that a compromise can be found. So it sounds like Inter are willing to sell him. Yeah. United are kind of doing the same dance we did with Mount, where you start here, we start here, and we'll sort of meet in the middle. So again, if I'm to predict it, you're probably looking at 50 plus 5 or something.
Similar
we'll
to the
get
Mount
the numbers
thing.
done. Onana, I know he's, I guess we all watched the Champions League final. What do you make of him? Do you like that United are going for a keeper as much as anything?
I first obviously come across him when he played for Ajax in the final in Stockholm. I've watched a bit of Milan. He's going to cause a few heart attacks inside Old Trafford next year.
He's exciting.
He's exciting. Takes a few chances. But I'm going on about, obviously, I'm just going to go back to De Gea. Yeah. Obviously, I've said it on my channel about the way he got treated. I think it's absolutely scandalous. Yeah. The way you treat a player like that, whether he's been there 1 year or 13 or 14 years. It's just the way the club's going to... It didn't surprise me, the way they've done it, I think it was time for the change, and that's nothing against his performance. I think now your goalkeeper's got to be maybe that bit of a footballing centre-half like Neuer started off. But no, I just think that they've treated him bad and it's left us in a bad position. So it's like now teams know we need a number 1 goalkeeper. Because we don't know, they're still saying they're talking to De Gea. You can see him end up in Saudi. Somewhere back in Spain. Didn't his wife say that a few years back Manchester was like the back of a fridge? So she's probably didn't really want to stay here, but I thank him for everything he's done. I'm gutted the way it's turned out, but I like Onana. I think he's a good keeper. He's got that presence about him, which sometimes David didn't have. Coming for those crosses, you turn your back. It was like the old days when I was younger. Paddy Roach, you're lucky you never seen him. He used to talk about heart attacks. As soon as his name was on the team sheet, you wanted to get home. It was that bad. But no, we've got to get it done. Like we're talking about under Ferguson and Gill, we got these in before pre-season. That's what you try to do. Get them on tour, get them to know their habits, get them to know the rest of the team. Don't bring them in a week before the season or a day like with Fellaini. Let's get it done early.
Yeah. Just on that before we obviously give you a sec, but there was this, and I've been someone that said I think we need to move on from De Gea. Like you said, we need someone who can play out from the back. That's just how modern teams play, and De Gea seemingly isn't up to doing it. But like the fact that he's just become this like figure of fun on social media. This, what was it, an hour and a half montage of mistakes and stuff. And I get it. I understand people, have certain expectations, but he's been at Man United for, 12 years. There's going to be even if he was the best keeper in the world for every single 12 of those years, every single one of those 12 years, there's still going to be a lot of mistakes in there because all keepers make mistakes.
Games, if you remember,
Yeah,
Shield, West Brom away.
Yeah,
but look what he turned into.
Exactly, and I just think it is for me a step too far. Making 90-minute compilations of mistakes, get out of my club, all of this stuff. Like he's done more for Man United than the person making that montage. He is a Manchester United great, maybe not quite a legend, but he is, an integral part and a massive world-class player at Manchester United. I think it is really disrespectful, some of the stuff that we've seen over the last couple of weeks.
How sad have you got to be to sit down and go through all of David De Gea's mistakes? And I'm like, what grudge do you have against the goalkeeper that's won so much at Manchester United and was Man United's best player of the year for like 4 out of 5 seasons, and and arguably one of our best players post Ferguson. I just find it's absolutely sickening. And there's no place for it at all. Like Webby said, the lad deserves respect from the fans, and more so from the club and the way he's been treated. And again, like I echo what Webby says, thanks for everything that he's done at United. And it was time to move on, but like
just
most
the way it was done.
Like most of Manchester United at the moment, it doesn't seem to be done too well. But with Onana, oh my dear, I think we're going to be saying next season. We talk about highlight reels. Every time we're linked with a player and you go on YouTube, you're like, oh, fuck, look at the goals he scored, man. Look at that skill. All I've seen is him running out of the box and man going like, get back in! Get back in, you boy!
I'm so excited. We're going from one of, like, in terms of the goalkeepers who are at the top teams in Europe, if you think of like the biggest 20 teams in Europe, Inter, AC, Bayern, Real Madrid, United, like Liverpool, whatever. De Gea is maybe the most conservative of any of the top keepers at the minute. Like, he doesn't come out off his line really. Like, Onana might be the most like outgoing
one
keeper
extreme to the
in
other.
Europe. Like, he is genuinely one extreme to the other. He literally he left it's Cameroonian, isn't it? He left the Cameroonian national team during the World Cup because he refused to play traditional football. The manager was like, you need to just calm it down. He's like, I'll see you later. So that's how obsessed with playing it. Like you said, he's going to be exciting. There will be mistakes because, if you think of any central midfielder who's expected to pass the ball, even Michael Carrick, who for me is the quintessential give him the ball and he won't lose it kind of player. He will find a pass. He gave the ball away. So if your goalkeeper's trying to do what they're doing, he's going to give the ball away sometimes. But we've just got to ride it, assuming that we do sort of find a way to get him in the end. We've got a super chat here. Danny says Glazonomics early on linked to Kane and Rasmus Højlund, Kim Min-jae, 2 centre mids, a right back and a goalkeeper. Then United may get nobody, so the fan base is okay with a poor window of Rasmus as a first choice striker, Mount and a goalkeeper. Teams weaker at present, shocking. I think you were saying before, weren't you, about getting a striker in? That's going to be so important, isn't it?
It's got to be, and have we got the money? It doesn't look like at the moment until this so-called takeover happens. But it's obvious last year the chances we created and we didn't put away. I'm a big fan of Anthony Martial, but you can't rely on him.
No.
It didn't shock me when it come out he was injured for the cup final, and on his day, mint.
Yeah.
Just don't have too many days in my eyes. Unfortunately, it's time for probably him to move on now. To pastures new, but we've got to get someone. Surely, the manager's probably identified that within a few days of him coming to the club.
Yeah.
But then you're going on the thing of Greenwood. It's all up in the air. Is he coming back? It looks like it. Do you want him back? Does he want him back? I don't. He doesn't. It's mad.
Yeah.
But we need one of those horrible centre forwards like Rude was. He scored like 2 or 3 goals outside the box. The rest was in 6 yard. Ian Rush was one of the best. Yeah. Didn't do out for 80 minutes. He'd come at the far post and nick you the winner.
I said this to Jay the other day and he was disagreeing. I think Vlahovic at Juventus, I know he's had a bad season last year, but in terms of someone aggressive in the back, just somebody who doesn't need too many touches and put the ball in the back of the net. And I know Juventus are in a bit dire straits financially, so that might be something we'll look at. But I don't think we've been linked with him. But Højlund seems to be the one that. But again, that's 70 million, and that's again on a 21-year-old.
Yeah, he's quite unproven, isn't he? I think he looks like an interesting player, Højlund. And we interviewed a Danish journalist who sort of saw him when he was playing in Denmark, and then his career as it's unfolded, and he pretty much got dropped in Denmark, and he left on a free, and then went to Atalanta after that, and has since sort of really kind of exploded. But he's one of those players that it's not all just, Haaland, someone in comparison. They get compared a lot because they're both sort of Scandinavian, they're both tall, blonde hair, all that. But Haaland has been when he was 11, people knew he was going to be a top striker, whereas Højlund's kind of had it a bit more up and down. You think, if we get him as he's having a bit of a dip, or if he's still growing, and you stick him up front, is he going to be better than playing Rashford up front? Maybe not. It might be worth rethinking things.
We need those options, Joe. Which we have for a lot of times last year. We could pick the team because we had nobody else. So that options, because you look on the Fergie, we had the 4. Some days it was Cole and York, then it was Ollie and Teddy, and he was happy with either pair, and then they'd put Yorkie in with Ollie. And it was just that option. We need the option. And it'll make those players, because some players there, I always remember Luke Shaw, he was playing every week because we never had another decent left back at the club. We need that competition. Hungry young lads who want to play for the badge.
And I think it affects the style of play as well. I think last season you saw when Val Vegas, for bless him for all he tried at Manchester United, was never going to be good enough, and evidently wasn't. But players weren't making the decision to pass the ball into the box because he was there and he couldn't be relied on to take the shot. It
was interesting, wasn't it? At the start of the season, you had players giving the ball to Ronaldo when he probably wasn't in a position to receive it, because it's Ronaldo, we've got to give him the ball. I think Anthony looked to me like he did that quite a bit, where he'd look up, he'd be in a position where he could shoot himself, but he'd try and give it to Ronaldo because it's Ronaldo. And then by the end of the season, it was the opposite, where Weghorst is in space, and because it's Weghorst, I'm not passing it, he'll miss. Like, we need someone where you go, you're not overawed by the size of them and the fact that they're going to get Mardy if you don't pass it to him like Ronaldo, but someone that, if they're in the right position, you trust them to put the ball in the back of the net. We need, Kane just seems so obvious to me, but it's just, it seems like it's either going to be Bayern Munich or stay at Tottenham, doesn't it? So we'll have to wait and see on the striker. But it's not, as we've seen season after season, Casemiro last season is a good example. At the start of the window, we weren't after him, but no one thought Casemiro was even available.
No.
And then you get to August, and all of a sudden he becomes available. So who's to say? Maybe Vlahovic at the end of the summer, or maybe there'll be another striker that at the moment doesn't seem like a target, doesn't seem available, and we might end up with someone who we don't expect. So
if we don't get someone though, then I think Webby was saying before the show started, you fear for top 4.
I really do if we don't get that, because obviously we spoke about, and we're going about speaking about our rivals getting bigger. Arsenal have spent, Liverpool have bought, well, in my eyes, the 2 kids they've got. City, like you said before, Joe, if they don't buy anyone, they're still going to be in the top 2. You know what I mean? And Newcastle are going to buy again, and Chelsea, what Chelsea going to do with all their money? We've got to get the right person, and I'm sure the management know who they want, but it's whether we've got the money to pay for this centre forward. I like the kid at Juventus, like you say, I think he do a great job at United. But let's try and get this takeover, and let's try and get some money in and get the right person, the right people into the club, which we need.
Yeah, the departures is the interesting one, isn't it? Because so far, Zidane Iqbal for up to €1 million isn't going to be funding much of anything. United need to get the finger out and start selling players. Like, there seems to be a bit of interest for Fred, a bit of interest for McTominay, rumours for Maguire, bits and bobs for Martial and Tellez, and we should be able to get 50, 60, 70 million out of these players, but United's ability to sell people is just horrendous, isn't it? Like, we had a graph on yesterday, me and Jay were looking at it. I think in the last 10 years Chelsea have sold 700 million quid's worth of players. City and Arsenal and Liverpool and Spurs in and around the sort of 300-400 million. United have sold 170 million's worth, like 5 times less than Chelsea. Like, we're so bad at it.
Is that because United players sort of seem to reduce value?
Yeah. Also, we keep people on for too long.
That's what I mean. Yeah. When it comes by the time you're selling it, the players are past the MOT.
If you think of Pogba as an example, I mean, I was a big fan of Pogba, so I wasn't disappointed that he stayed. But if you look at what he did and his prime at United, if we'd have sold him a year before his end of his contract, or 2 years, and you'd have got 40 million, 30 million, that would be helpful for another transfer. Instead, we let him run his contract out. So someone like Paul Pogba, who would have been worth something, we got nothing for him. And he didn't even help us win anything in that last year because it was so desperate by the end. But we might have been able to use that 40 million to actually win some trophies last season. So, yeah, we just let people stay on too long, don't we? Let's move on then and talk a bit about, you mentioned it before, Rice and Timber going to Arsenal. Rice last night got the sort of here we go, and Timber today with the here we go. 40 million plus 5, I think, for Timber. and then it's 100 million plus 5 for Rice. You're looking at 150 million for those two. Do you think Arsenal are stepping things up? Do you think? I mean, obviously they're trying to improve the team. Do you worry about Arsenal next season? Do you wish we'd got either of those two players?
For the money it was going to cost to get Declan Rice, and I'm not upset that we didn't get him.
Yeah.
I think we were linked with Timber last year, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we'll get him last year. I think I'm very impressed with Arsenal's summer spending so far. I mean, is it Havertz in it who's gone there that you've got the bet with? Even about. I'm not a massive fan of him, but them two players can only improve. And I think Arteta's going to be under unbelievable pressure next season with that amount of money.
He's in that Solskjaer year. Do you know when he signed Ronaldo, Varane and Sancho?
Yeah.
Like, go on then, win something.
I can't remember. Obviously, like Declan Rice is going to be there. Was it the most expensive English player of all time?
Yeah, well, we now
this will probably be Arsenal's biggest ever spending summer window. That the pressure is just going to be ridiculous on Arteta.
They've spent over 200 million already. It's the 5th of July. They've spent 210 million already. Like you said, the pressure's got to be big.
Yeah. It has, and it should improve them. Do they all slot and fit in straight away? But like Webby said earlier on, this is the importance about getting your players in early before pre-season. And how many pre-seasons on the bounce has United left it until like halfway through August to sign players, and it's hampered us. It really has. So you look at them signings that Arsenal have made. Declan Rice is, I wouldn't mind him at United, but not for the money that he's gone for.
Yeah. Do they worry you, those signings, or do you think, like Scotty said,
look
the
at
pressure?
Arsenal last year, that was their chance to win the league.
Yeah.
They bottled it.
Yeah.
End of the day, they bottled it.
They did.
And the players they signed the previous season made them a better team, obviously. The kid from City, a couple of kids he got from City.
Yeah, Zinchenko.
I like Adverts, I like Rice, but like saying I wouldn't like to pay that money for him. It's going to make him better, but, I just think with Arsenal, we spoke about it before, their problem last year was the centre-half. When he went down, they went to pot. You'd think they'd be looking at a centre-half, and I know Timber can come in there, but that Dutch football's a lot slower than the Premier League. I think he can be caught out. If he was that good, why have Chelsea not looked to him? Why have Liverpool City not looked at him? If he's half right, then they're going to go for that's no disrespect for Arsenal. I just think if Arsenal spend again, they'll get a decent centre-half. And you've got to say the football he played last year was good to watch at sometimes. Yeah. So Arsenal are going to be thereabouts. But like saying, everyone's getting stronger. Yeah. That's why it's important for United to get these players in now and get embedded before we play against Wolves.
Yeah, I don't fear Arsenal as a direct rival if United were to go toe to toe. 11 versus 11. If you look at the games last season, obviously we won at home, and the away game, I thought we were well in within 45 minutes, and that was a weaker Man United team without Casemiro in. Yeah. And I thought they played brilliant in the second half and deserved the win. But I don't think that their starting 11, even with them two, and now we've got Mason Mount, is better than Manchester United.
No, and I think that's a good point. I've not really thought about that before. Like, I think Arteta's spent like 500 million quid since he got to Arsenal and won one FA Cup, is it?
He's gone to the school of Guardiola coaching.
Yeah, and I think that like the pressure is going to be massive. I think, and obviously, like I'm saying, 50-50. I think they're as likely to sack Arteta this season as they are to win the Premier League.
If he doesn't start
because that's what I'm saying. If they
start well, he's gone.
That's what I mean. If they have a bad start and they're out of the top four, and we saw, like I said, we saw what happened to Solskjaer. You finish third, you finish second, you get Ronaldo, you get Varane, you get Sancho. Well, you need to improve, and the only way to improve from second is first. Yeah. Once we saw that wasn't going to happen, Solskjaer was gone, and I think you could see a similar thing with Arsenal. I'm not predicting he'll get sacked, but I think they've got, like I said, just as much chance of sacking him as they have of winning the league. It could go either way with them.
Yeah, but Arsenal last season was their best chance to win the league. Yeah. I don't think they'll get this chance this season. If you look at how the main competitors were playing, obviously we finished third. Chelsea were way off. Spurs were being more Spurs than usual. Yeah. Liverpool. So you expect all them teams to improve. Yeah. So that's going to be more of a congested top four than it was last season.
Yeah, and what tends to happen is when it'll be congested at the start of the season, and then teams start crumbling, don't they? Like we've seen United do it in the past. Tottenham, Chelsea did it last season. Liverpool
up to Christmas, we were up there with them.
Yeah, exactly. Right, I think that's going to be all from us. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back at 9:30 tonight. Me and Jay will be giving all the latest transfer wrap-ups. There may be some updated Onana news, like people are saying, more details, more bids expected to go in for Onana. So hopefully we will have an update before the end of the evening. And of course, the elephant in the room, the takeover, which we haven't heard anything for about 3 weeks now. So
maybe Shaker's just
yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. None of them have. Jim Radcliffe haven't heard out. Sheikh Jassim haven't heard out. No one's heard anything. So hopefully there'll be some news there. Thank you, Webby, for coming
No
on.
problem,
Good to see you again, mate.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Scotty, of
Cheers,
course,
man.
always, for being here on Round Our Way. My name has been Joe. This has been Stretford Paddock. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 800,000 subscribers. We got to 700, and let's get to 800 as well. Also, hit the notification bell, because then every time we go live, you will see it first, and you won't miss any breaking news that happens all summer. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit.